Hey guys, welcome back to dezandfoxplay. It's Summer Game Fest week 6.
If we're counting right.
If we're counting right, or at least
might be 5 or
our 6th video.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't matter.
There has been a lot going on.
Ridiculous amount of stuff. So many hours-long videos of trailers and announcements.
We talked about the PS5 one last week, so we're not going to be talking about this time. But other than that, it was like 5 videos that were at least an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
Up to 2.5 hours long.
So much, which is cool, but also a lot.
Yeah, a lot. So this is kind of our preface saying, hey, we didn't watch all of these.
Yeah.
We don't have that much time. We have lives and jobs.
There might be
and I have
something
children
that you're like, why are you not talking about this? And it's because it was too much.
It was too much.
Okay.
So
my microphone's being bad. Very professional of me.
You got this. I believe in you.
Well, it just keeps falling down. It's your fault.
Hang on a sec. Hold on. We're back.
We're back.
Figure it out.
No problems. We're all good.
So anyway, all this really just to say, hey, we didn't cover everything. We watched. We found some articles that listed every single game that was showcased. And
basically said that looks kind of interesting.
And then pick some of the ones that we liked. Yeah. And so if you really want to see everything that was presented, you're going to need...
There's plenty of other YouTube channels that
do that. You're going to need like a dozen hours.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But
we didn't want to do that, and we're subject you to that. So anyway, let's start... hold on. With the VR announcement thing.
So if you guys don't know this, I get super motion
Your
sick.
brain is broken.
Yeah, so I 100% did not watch the VR showcase.
It doesn't even matter if it's VR. He can't really even do like
I have to take motion sickness medicine to watch Fox play Days Gone.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I do.
That's not even a first-person
It's
game.
not.
It's crazy.
It's so weird.
Something's
wrong only happened in the past the past few years that this just kicked up. But anyway,
something's wrong with
we're not here to talk about my weird motion sickness issues. Oh, okay.
You're bad.
Let me Google motion sickness. Let's get into the No, too late. You said you wanted to.
This is now a medical talk commentary show. No. So let's talk about that. Here's the thing, though. I'm going to be talking about it. Even though between the two of us and both of us, neither of us are super sold on VR.
Right.
And I think even between the two of us, I'm
the
less sold.
Yeah.
And so I went into this. I was a pretty like pessimistic audience member, and I'll be honest, nothing stood out to me.
It lived up to your expectations.
And what I was there looking for was, hey, what's gonna sell me? Not on that looks like a cool game or could be cool, but what's gonna sell me on buying an entire system to play a game for it. And that none of them did. They all look, man, it's even hard to get into specifics because I couldn't even tell. Like, there is one VR game that I've, in my history of being a video game player, have said, that looks kind of, you know what, I really want to play that. And that's Half-Life Alyx, of course.
Right.
The one that's like, could be a system seller. I didn't play it, and I don't, like, haven't and have no plans. That's just the one that I'm like, cool. Because even though it looks kind of cool, I don't want to buy a whole system for it.
It's not worth
for one game.
Yeah.
I've bought a system for one game before. I did that with the Switch.
Yeah.
And then I waited 6 months for the next game I bought for the Switch, which was Mario Odyssey, which is also a system seller. So I'm not against that. I get it. But honestly, none of it. So, man, and it just started to look very samey. They all look, I mean, graphics-wise, it doesn't matter, but they all look like real, like, 10-year-old games because, you know, you can't create, I don't know. Here's the problem. Half-Life Alyx, I think, was supposed to invigorate the VR.
Right.
But it also set the bar pretty high.
Yeah.
It's that, like, double-edged sword of, wow, that looks great, and wow, this is what VR can do. But also, that's what VR can do if you're Valve. If you're Valve, like, it's Valve and, like, CD Projekt Red are two companies that they can spend 7 or 8 years making a single game because they have alternate sources of income that don't rely on, like, they both have game platforms that make them money.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's just a problem. It's like, well, that didn't look as good as Half-Life Alyx. And also, all of them seem pretty one-note.
Okay, let me stop you there because we get it. VR isn't
Sure.
as exciting. Yeah, we
Sure.
do get
Yeah,
that.
you get it.
But is there anything that actually stood out to you, though?
There was one game that and it's not even the first one that's done this. It's just a concept that I like, and it was there's a game called Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Yeah.
But this wasn't in that, as it was basically, it seemed like a clone of that, or like everybody. What's the other game? Everybody keep talking and no one explodes.
Oh, keep talking and no one explodes.
Keep talking, where you all have to tell each other what's going on or what to do on the panels, and it basically seemed like that, but in a VR setting. And that's not the first time it's done that, but I like that concept. It just seems like a fun party game, and I'm down for party games. I love playing Jackbox games. But again, to spend hundreds of dollars on a VR system for one party game, nah, I'm not gonna do it. So I'm gonna be honest. There was nothing in there that really stood out to me. Now, if I had a VR, if I had an Oculus, I would probably have a very different tone.
Right, of
because
course.
some of them might be like it's like a whole new frontier of games. It's like, oh, cool. Now I have a 3v3 multiplayer shooter that I can play in VR. But I can't do that right now without buying. So, like, I don't want to say these games were bad or looked bad.
Right.
I'm pretty biased. And so for that reason, this conversation, if you're coming to hear my hot take on VR games, I got none because I'm not the person to talk about it. So, again, disappointing.
Yeah.
But only because I'm not the person to talk about it. So,
All
let's
right.
move
so
on.
So the VR, yeah. So if you don't have a VR thing at all, I guess to kind of surmise for you, if you don't own VR, it probably wasn't that impressive.
Yeah.
But if you do own something VR, go check it out yourself. And you can take a look and see what you think.
I still think VR is a trend that will last longer than some other trends. But I don't think it's going to ever be, man, I don't know.
To me, it's a forever peripheral. It's going to be here forever.
Okay, that's
permanent.
fair.
Absolutely.
Sure,
it's
forever, but also it's never going to achieve the levels of just traditional, regular controller non.
At least not in our lifetime.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, let's move on. We spent probably more time on that than we need to anyway.
100%.
Let's jump into the Guerrilla Collective presentation here. Guerrilla Collective is essentially a
online game festival.
Yeah, online game festival, but it focused on indie games. So
sure.
We're going to talk about some of the things that hit for us here. We each have a small handful. I'll go first because there are a few that I was real excited about.
Well, tell me about them.
First and foremost, the one that I was like, oh, that's awesome. West of Dead.
Okay.
West of Dead is a top-down shooter. I'm going to guess it's a twin stick, but I don't know for sure. Mm-hmm. But it's a supernatural Western. You play as a cowboy-ish character who also looks like Ghost Rider. You have a skull with fire and whatever else coming off of it. Voiced by Ron Perlman.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Now I was like, there were a couple Western games, and okay, now I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's very much like, it seems almost noir in its narration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's real stylized. It looked really cool. And I thought it looked like a lot of fun just in the way that it had the fast-paced shooting, definitely shoot 'em out, a lot of supernatural enemies and whatnot, but also the Western theme, the spiritual Western theme is something that hits me as an Arizonan as well. So, and of course, Ron Perlman is awesome. He's
Hellboy
himself.
the
original Hellboy, and his voice is real good. So go check out West of Dead. I thought that was one of mine that I wanted to mention.
All right. For me, Exo 1.
Ooh, okay.
You remember it's the one where it's just like you're a sphere and that you can turn into a flat thing and you're just like carving the ground and like flying
I did not
around.
see this one.
You don't remember this? Okay. So essentially, I liked it so much and I liked it. I thought it was intriguing looking. I had questions. It kind of seemed like more of a tech demo, like a physics based, because it didn't show you doing anything other than just carving around and jumping and flying through the air. It was like entrancing to watch for me. Like I was just like, this is so cool because, I don't know. It just seemed like he would, whoever's controlling it just had that perfect sync of going up and down the waves or the land. And I don't know. I was like, well, is there a story though? Because if all it is I'm a sphere and I'm jumping around on the land, that's going to be kind of cool for a few minutes.
Right.
And then I get good at it, but there's nothing like keeping me engaged. Then what do? Well, I played the demo, actually. It's part of the Steam Game Fest. And, I mean, there was kind of a story. Like, it's a demo. It's not incomplete, probably.
Right.
I got I was kind of bored with it though, pretty quickly. It was. I mean, I eventually got the controls down to a certain extent. Like, got better at it because you basically you click and that brings you like gravitationally brings you down to earth. It does not. I had to stop thinking this is what like gives me momentum. Because it does give you momentum if you're in the air falling down.
Right.
But if you're going uphill, it doesn't. So you have to get that timing of when to let go.
Oh, yeah.
And then fly off, and then you can glide and whatever. But so it was something about, like, it was kind of vaguely told, like, there was a expedition to Jupiter. You play as, like, an alien life form kind of thing, an ALF, so to say. You eat cats.
Yeah, because they're delicious.
And basically it's very vaguely like, here's a beam of light. It doesn't tell you to go there, but it's like, well, that's a thing. So you go there, and there's like a power boost, and you get better like gliding ability or something like that. And then there's another one in the distance, and you get there, and well, here's the thing. It was a huge like world, pretty barren, like just kind of things on the ground that you could jump off of. But there was, it was like a big world. Nothing really stuck out. It was interesting. More of like I've never really seen something like this. So I played the demo, and it kind of confirmed, ooh, there's not much here.
Yeah.
It just kind of seems like a beautiful tech demo kind of thing. So I was a little disappointed by that.
The next one I want to talk about is called Cardiclism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Cardiclism...
I thought this one would be one of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a turn-based, card-based RPG, and you are essentially like fantasy character, and you're going out into the world and fighting bad guys, kind of, dungeon crawling, etc. Except for all your combat is turn and card based.
Yeah.
And you come back and you buy new cards and you trade and you craft and you do all this other stuff. And I'm guessing there's a big story as well, all that goes along with it. But it's like Slay the Spire meets fantasy RPG.
Yeah.
And whoo boy,
I've just been waiting for whatever card based game takes over, like replaces Slay the Spire for you.
Slay the Spire has set so many like bars for. There were a lot of card-based games in this. I also had more time to talk about Fights in Tight Spaces, which is a card-based brawler.
Yeah.
But to get back, so Fights in Tight Spaces, you can check that on your own. But back to Cardiclism. The whole idea of being able to level up your cards, level up your person in different ways, having different skill trees, crafting the cards and things like that, to me, all of this is like right in my alley. I would probably love it and play the crap out of it and beat it. I don't know if it'll end up having the replayability that Slay the Spire will, because in Slay the Spire, I love the ability to sit down for an hour to an hour and a half each day and hammer out a daily challenge.
A whole new thing, yeah.
Yeah, but maybe it will.
Maybe it will have that.
I am very much looking forward to Cardiclism.
Yeah, 100%. There was a game called Lake.
Yeah.
And this one just hit that itch of like I'm all for just kind of story-based, slice of life kind of things. And also it didn't hurt that this was set in Oregon. And so basically the story, it's a story about a woman who is, I believe she's an actor who came back and like just wanted to like be kind of normal for a while and just became a mail carrier.
Yep. And
it's just about you going around, from what it seemed, going around and like living life,
delivering packages,
delivering mail,
and talking to people
and learning their stories. And it looked very nice, but also it just like seemed like it's the kind of game that I want to play.
Yeah.
I'm also very biased. If something's set in Oregon, Oregon's very pretty.
And it's really popular right now. Like there are a lot of things being set in Oregon right now.
The Pacific Northwest has been gaining popularity as an aesthetic.
It very much had kind of a Kentucky Route Zero mindset to me of you are mostly just experiencing things that other people. That's what it seemed like from the short preview, where you're going to talk to people and then they are going to talk to you about things.
Right. Yeah. That kind of like quote unquote walking simulator.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of more of a window into this world,
a spectator,
rather than the center of it. So yeah, and it looked fun.
It did look fun. I had that on here too. Which one do I want to? I'm going to talk about Rocky. Very clear that they rolled the R actually in the video.
Yep.
So
it's very very Rocky. Scandinavian.
This is an adventure game. It's a modern fairy tale where you are a child who has been quote unquote touched by magic, and you are therefore able to see trolls and other things. there are monsters in the world. It looks like some of them you're helping, some of them you're trying to fight off or flee from. And that whole thing of the modern fairy tale is super cute and a lot of fun, and I really liked it. Of course, what really struck me, though, what like hooked me, was it seems like a lot of it, they talk a lot about also deal with this child's real life issues and how, you know, these monsters, there are real monsters, they say. And so there's going to
real
be
monsters.
Real monsters. There's a timely reference.
Hated that show.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I liked that show. Anyway, so to me, it seems like this is definitely going to be one of those, like, there's metaphor to it, there's analogies and whatnot.
Well, I can tell you, I played the demo for that game.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
okay.
for our last Steam Game Festival episode of the Nerdy Gritty. That was one I did.
I don't remember that.
It has had a demo out for like 6 months. Yeah, it was like an adventure point and click kind of thing. There wasn't, if I remember correctly, not really combat or anything.
Oh, okay.
You were just kind of like going through this world, and like there was like that troll, and I think that's kind of where it ended. And I don't know. Yeah, it was very peaceful and very story based.
And but it also looks like a lot of it's going to be like this kid's actual trauma you're going to be dealing with. So yeah, that looked very interesting to me.
Right. Metal Hellsinger.
Ooh.
I told you about this a couple days ago or whatever. Or maybe yesterday. It's Doom, but what if Doom was a rhythm game?
Oh, yeah.
And I love the concept because I've played a lot of rhythm games in my life. Put a good amount of hours into Guitar Hero, into DDR, into even earlier than that. There was those like the weird ones on like the PS2 that kind of kicked off the rhythm game genre. Man, I can't even
remember. Parappa the Rapper?
Yeah, well, not Parappa the Rapper. I haven't played that one. I don't know. Amplitude. Amplitude is one of them. And Frequency. Frequency, I think, was the one I really played.
You must be really excited for Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory.
Oh, man, so pumped. No, anyway, I love rhythm games, and I love Doom. And more recently, we played what was the Cadence of Hyrule.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's so good.
That was a really great game. I got to tell you, watching the demo, I was pretty disappointed by it.
Oh, no.
It seemed very one note to make a musical pun.
It just goes, bah.
Yeah, and you're like, wait, this isn't metal? What? No, it just seemed like, okay, you have a shotgun, and you run around, there are demons, and you shoot them to the beat. So it's just, and then you can have 2 handguns, and then you just shoot it double time. And that seemed like the whole game from the demo. Like, it just seemed like here's...
It sounds like Curse the Necrodancer, but not...
Curse the Necrodancer, Cadence of Hyrule was that, but everything you did was to a beat.
Right.
And the enemies had specific, like, patterns.
Yeah.
Or like weapons would do
but not
certain
as good.
things.
Yeah.
I think what the problem is that this doesn't have, like, the grid-based. So it's harder to, like... It just feels like you just shoot in front of you at the right time. I don't know. And there's like a scorekeeping thing. It just felt really kind of empty. Also, it's not great that it's so very clearly taking lots of stuff from Doom. It's so very clearly saying Doom but rhythm. It's you're in hell, you have a shot. I guess in hell, I don't know specifically. You have a shotgun. You're shooting demons. Like it's just it's so transparent. And so I was excited by the premise, but also I think to me it's like a platformer, but in first person is always not as good because you need a certain type of like you need to be able to see where you're jumping to,
right,
and where your feet are for a really good platformer. And in first person, you can't really do that very well. And that's kind of seems like it's translating to a rhythm game where you're in combat. I don't know. It just
that sounds.
It was disappointing to watch.
All right.
Yeah.
My last one for the Guerrilla Collective was Juggler's Tale. Juggler's Tale looks like a platformer.
Justin McElroy would be very disappointed.
Platformer, but you are controlling a puppet.
Yeah.
And so as it's moving around, there are the strings that are hanging from like off screen.
Yeah.
And so you have to find a way to navigate around things without anything going above you. Otherwise, it will catch on the strings.
Caught, yeah.
Yeah. It also has kind of like a dark, creepy look to it, which I am always pleased with the aesthetic of, which I'll get into more later with a different game.
Sure.
But it was one that looks unique, I guess. It's kind of a shtick, I feel, with the whole string thing, but it's a new one that I haven't seen before.
It's something.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing
Reminded me
more
of
about
Unravel a little bit.
it. Yeah, I could see that for
but
sure.
with puppet instead of yarn person.
I love
Yeah.
Unravel.
Right,
both of the games were wonderful, wonderful,
yeah,
wonderful.
that's all I've got.
All right, so that was the Guerrilla Collective features that we have.
Obviously, a very small amount of the games.
There are dozens
That's
of
gonna
announcements.
be true for all of these, though.
Dozens of announcements. If you want to see more, go check out the video yourself. There's a lot more.
What are we moving on to?
Future games.
Future games. These are games that they opened the time stream
Right.
and brought them back from the future.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was a really poor choice because we just don't have the technology to play
Right.
them.
These were like PS8 games.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the point of this was. It's
No.
really strange.
So I don't know why it's called future games, but here's what we have.
They're focused on things.
So there are I listed too many here. I gotta narrow this down. I will first talk about Paradise Lost.
Okay.
Paradise Lost to me was it seemed like, you know how those early moments in BioShock when you go into Rapture and
One of the best game openings ever made.
absolutely,
Yep.
and you are exploring this new area that has been sealed and in of itself the entire time, and something has happened within here.
Mm-hmm.
So the purpose of Paradise Lost is that it is 1960s in an alternate universe where the World War II never ended. It was just really
a little played out at this point, but yeah.
So that is true, but the way that they went about it is really different, where Germany is slowly losing over this entire time, and their final plan is, let's get our master race, put them in a bunker, nuke Germany and Poland, nuke ourselves, nuke Poland, and that way we can, without anybody coming into our nuclear hellscape in our now radioactive land, we can raise our master race in our bunkers.
Oh, yeah, that's a little different than like Man in the High Tower or
Absolutely.
Doom.
So
or Wolfenstein.
And so you are somebody who has found one of these bunkers, and you're going in, and something has happened in these bunkers.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and again, it
Interesting.
seems very much like the first while in the first BioShock, where you're exploring this place where you don't know
You're
what
gonna
is
need a lot of
going
good
on.
Environmental storytelling.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
And so this to me looked really interesting. I really liked that storyline kicker.
yeah,
even
that's a cool premise.
you know, the what if the Nazis actually one thing is played out. It really is. This is way different than that, and I'm really excited to see how they play on the master race thing, how they're going to go into the genetics of it, what issues there is with it, things like that, because you could swing and miss really badly with that, or you could hit it out of the park really well, something cool with this. There's a lot of opportunity for this. So I am genuinely curious as to how Paradise Lost is going to be. It's supposed to be kind of a survival thriller type game.
Yeah.
So yeah, Paradise Lost. Check it out.
Let's talk about Dustborn.
Let's talk about Dustborn.
Let's talk about Dustborn, baby. Dustborn is basically it seems like kind of more of an adventure game, a road trip type game. It doesn't seem like it's purely like adventure point and click or whatever, but the story concept really intrigued me. So essentially, it's set. Let me give you. You play as Pax, a young pregnant woman stuck on the fringes of society, who sets out on a road trip across the country in hope of finding better opportunities for yourself and for herself and her new family. It's basically set in a dystopian America where the loss of the importance of truth and like true information has kind of society has devolved because of it, which is just a cool concept. But to me, what was interesting is that like idea juxtaposed with the aesthetic style that they gave. Very comic booky, very cell shaded, very colorful and bright. Unfortunately, when you get a lot of like dystopian like thrillers, especially something as like to be frank, like obvious and current as like loss of truth and things like that, I'm thinking like 1984. The aesthetic of those kinds of games, or even just media in general, is often like bleak and like brutalistic, and like just where it's like kind of drab to clearly hammer home this is bad. And so to see a colorful like road trip set in like that, just I love that, because it reminds me of like Mad Max. Mad Max Fury Road was a very bleak future, obviously, but George Miller, the director, came at it with this idea of just because things are bad does not mean people lose all interest in beauty and art. And so, and instead, it's now taking what is available and making it cool. So you have making it beautiful. So you have these cool cars that aren't only like practical or whatever, or just ridiculous, but they also have little like artistic touches to them in that universe. And that's kind of what this reminded me of. Like, just because the world is bad does not mean the like beauty has left the hearts of the people in it. And so I like that idea, because it gets really played out when your dystopian thriller is just drab and gray. Mm-hmm. Like, we get it. We understand. And it also feels like lazy writing sometimes.
Right.
And so if you can, like, demonstrate... It's like the movie... man, I'm going to make a lot of comparisons here to movies, but the movie Midsummer was a horror movie that came out a couple of years ago about a cult in Scandinavia that is horrifying and brutal and violent, and it's a terrifying movie, but 98% of that movie takes place during the bright summer day, and it's, like... flowery, but like the horror is still there. And so like I think I like the aesthetic of kind of clashing of ideas and traditional color palettes and things like that. So it looked interesting to me.
Horizon does that really well.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna move on to, let's go with Hammerting. Hammerting was what looks like a super robust 2D mining sim. Here's the whole premise of it. You are a dwarf in a mine, and you are climbing your way downward. It's a vertical sim, so it's essentially about going as far down as you can to mine and bring up more supplies. Different type of supplies or things you encounter that you fight, items you pick up, whatever else, is going to help you then build a dwarven colony that you are building up in this mine. As that dwarven colony builds, you are able to produce resources that you can then bring to the surface. And they can fight. There's like an evil army that's on the surface, and you can then fight that. So there's like these multiple levels, from as small as you going and fighting a monster and picking up the items and bringing it to the surface, to as overarching as, did your army win this battle against the other army, and how is that going to open up your land so where you can go and mine now. And it seems really in-depth, a really meticulous type of game, one that I would love to watch somebody who is really good at it play. I don't know if it's one that I would get into, but games like that where there's somebody who's really good at, like I watched Christopher Odd play Frostpunk a lot, and
I watch a little bit of Frostpunk, and I don't even do let's plays. I make them, I don't watch them though.
And it's just one of the things where, you know what, I know I wouldn't be great at that, and so I'm not really going to play it, but man, if there's somebody who's really good at that, I would get into watching that a lot. It'd be really 100%. Cool.
Yeah, I've played a lot of digging games, so that already piqued my interest.
Yeah, you really, really dig them.
I do. I do.
I was Hammerting.
They rock. Morbid, the Seven Acolytes. Here's what I love. I love like horror settings and sanity meters and things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't like horror games.
To be clear, Fox and I don't like horror games, not because we think it's a dumb genre.
No. I love the genre.
Yeah, we both have very vivid imaginations.
Yes. They will affect me. I won't sleep for days. There are lots of movies. There's several movies that I've wanted to watch recently that I just said, that's not good for me, and I won't.
Same.
Anyway, Morbid, the Seven Acolytes definitely seems like it's taking on, it's described as a horror punk game. So first of all, I love that.
Yeah.
I love horror punk as a genre of music.
That sounds awesome. Yeah.
So I love it here. And I love the idea of these, like, I love the aesthetic, and I love like an insanity meter and just those kinds of things without like the 2D style just takes away that element of realism for me. So it's just like it's like watching Friday the 13th versus watching Nightmare on Elm Street. For me, Friday the 13th is just a fun romp, even though it's a horror movie, because it's just some dude who has a knife, well, not the first one, but has a big knife and tries to kill people.
Yeah.
Whereas Nightmare on Elm Street is fun and goofy, but also has this element of like, he comes to you when you're sleeping.
Yeah, it's psychological.
You can't sleep, and there's like this element, like, so I want to play this horror game that won't actually make me afraid. That I'm looking for more games like that, because I love the aesthetic and the style and just the darkness and the gross and all that.
Yeah.
Without that real world, I can't sleep now kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward to that.
I have too many more, and I want to talk about all of them. So I'm gonna hammer through mine really fast here.
Do it.
On the note of horror games that we're not going to play,
Sure.
Remothered Broken Porcelain. It's the sequel to another Remothered game. This looks like an Outlast Victorian horror. So it's Victorian style, supernatural, but also it's the Outlast style where you are being chased and there's not much you can do about it. The reason I wanted to bring this up, though, was because, number one, I liked that there is some sort of defend yourself. Outlast didn't have that, and it was so ridiculous.
It's terrible.
Yeah. You can grab a knife and stab somebody and run.
Or punch.
Yeah. There are things that you can do.
You have a fist.
To hurt and then run away, and I really liked that. Second of all, you have some sort of power, some sort of supernatural powers, and that allows you to navigate through this world as well. And those two things I thought were both really interesting that would set it apart from Outlast, which is kind of becoming a little bit of an overdone genre to me, but this to me seems like something that could freshen things up. I have not played or seen the first Remothered game. I don't know how that one went, but this sequel, Remothered Broken Porcelain, looked good to me.
Okay. I've got one more here.
Go ahead.
Ghost
and
Runner.
Then I'm gonna hit through mine real fast.
Ghost Runner, the cyberpunk parkour game.
Oh, okay.
I played Mirror's Edge, and I found it to be very boring. And also like we talked about before, first-person platforming, hard to do well.
It's real tough. Yeah.
Hard to do well because you need to know where your feet are. Anyway, this looked much more interesting. I don't know if it's gonna play better, but this at least, because Mirror's Edge did the what we were just talking about, the very like easy dystopia where everything's concrete or glass and it's just like bland and everything's just, brutalist, and it's like, okay, we get it, government is oppressive, you're a rebel. This looked much more interesting, more colorful, more like stylistic, very much like in Mirror's Edge. You couldn't fight back against really the enemies because that it really was just about running and keeping things. In this, you get to be more of a ninja that is like slicing at enemies but still keeping your speed up. And I just love the concept of like continuing to do combat. Like everything you do is like, if you're doing it well, going to continue that feeling of running and jumping and gliding and like just that smoothness. I want to like throw traps while moving and like trial and error, kind of like Trials, but with first person running and just being like, okay, throw that there, just slash this guy, run, jump, run on the wall. Like, I just love the concept of that. And Mirror's Edge did it okay, but it was just a very boring looking game.
Right.
It's real bland. It was more of a tech demo again. That was at the early PS3, I think. So anyway, looking forward to this one because I might actually play it.
All right. Okay, I'm going to hammer through my last few here. First one, Blanco's Block Party. This was, imagine Little Big Planet 3, where you have your little sack person, except for in this one, they're vinyl pop figs. And
are they actually sponsored vinyl?
No, it's just vinyl.
Okay.
They're vinyl figs. It's not pop figs, but
gotcha.
And you can customize it however you want, and then you get dropped into a like hub world where you can go pick your little mini party game that you want to do. Here's the thing, though, is each little vinyl fig that you have is a character, and you can level that character up. You can get new skins. You can make them like specialized to one type of game. There's monthly new content that comes out that will have individual vinyl figs that you can't get any other time ever. It's a party game that you can also level up and become better. That's going to be really unique to me.
I mean, I feel like based on what you just said, I feel like you'd love Fortnite, my friend.
So, well, I'm not saying I would enjoy this. Here's what I'm saying. I am very curious as to how this is going to go, because the fun thing about party games to me is that everybody comes together and you are immediately on equal ground, and every single mini game has different skill sets that you can get. Like Mario Party was great for that, and whatever else. Little Big Planet had a lot of fun things like that. But if you can level up your character and you can specialize it for this, to me, that's like, okay, not only are you good at it, but you also have the best character at it, and that ruins the party fun.
At that point, it's less of a party game.
Yeah, and then now it's an online
it's an online multiplayer
match.
game.
Yeah, and I feel like that's betraying its own theme.
I don't know.
Of being the fun party game. Yeah. So we'll see Blanco's Block Party. We'll see how that goes. It seemed really unique to me. Then there was also Inculinati.
Okay.
Inculinati was a 2D turn-based strategy combat game in which it's, again, 2D and all your guys are laid out and you are turn-based fighting each other forward. Here's the thing. It's entirely done in the style of medieval illuminations, like illustrations, things like that.
Oh.
And it's all looks like it's supposed to be hand-painted and hand-drawn. 100% comedy focused, leaning heavily on the scenes of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, in which the little illuminations are bouncing around and fighting each other. Yeah, and it's animals and they like fart at each other and things like that. And it's real comedy based and whatnot. But the aesthetic was super cool, I think. It looked very real, I guess, like genuine medieval illuminations.
Yeah, like true to its style, true to its inspiration.
It was really cool. I like that a lot. Alaloth, Champion of the Four Kingdoms. I did kind of a deep dive on this game because it looked, at the get-go, it looked like your basic dungeon crawler, like a Diablo type game.
Sure.
But then I saw a title that was like not your typical dungeon crawler. And I'm like, oh, I wonder why.
Got you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is a deep lore to the whole thing that plays into it pretty heavily. Then within that deep lore, there is deep character creation, including your alignment, your deity, what kingdom you're from, all this other stuff that builds into your character and what that character can do and whatnot. Then it's the Diablo style combat, but with a Souls-like challenge. It is slow, precision combat in which your goal is to lure away 1 or 2 people at a time and have this skill-based combat as you're fighting these things. It's supposed to be a very... The phrase Souls-like was used a lot in the video that I watched, but it's supposed to be slow, meticulous combat.
Yeah, I've never played a dungeon crawler where I felt like I could just... Every dungeon crawler I played, a Torchlight or whatever, it's, okay, just click here.
Yep.
Till you kill the enemies, click here till you kill the enemies.
And they specifically wanted to not do
all right,
that.
I appreciate that.
So you are going to be powerful and have magic and things like that, but it's always going to be a challenge.
All right.
Always going to be a challenge.
Okay.
So the last one from the future gaming was, and this was kind of my game of show for this one particularly, The Almost Gone. The Almost Gone was a game that I'm like, that looks and sounds really cool. I'm going to put it on my Steam wish list. Oh, there's a demo of it out right now. I'm going to play that demo. So I went and I played the demo. Imagine it's a puzzle game, but it's like a diorama, like you used to do in school with like a shoebox turned on its side or whatever. Kind of like that, where each room you go to is this diorama and you can turn it around and look in different things.
Okay.
And you zoom in and you can click and open and solve all these puzzles, and whatever you find in that room, you can take to another room. And of course, depending on which way you rotate the room and whatnot, there's different things you can see and whatnot. Yeah, perspective shift.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fez style.
And it is, Fez style. That's a great way to put that. But each one is just this little square or rectangle of an area that you're searching through. And what you find, you take to a different room. And of course, there's this big mystery behind the whole thing. It is very, very The Room-like, but where The Room was Lovecraftian, this just kind of seems like modern mystery. And I really want to play this game, and I'm really excited to do that. In fact, when it comes out, it may be one that I record. Okay. So yeah, The Almost Gone.
Yeah. All right. So that's future games.
Yep.
Let's move on to what, the PC gaming show?
Yeah. I had less for this
Speaking of master races, I've got 3 like I did before. I'll start this one off. Proteus.
Oh, okay.
This is basically so there's a new Doom, of course. It's pretty different than classic Doom. Visual, like you got the same enemies and stuff, but the actual play style is fairly different.
Right.
Like new mechanics and all that. Proteus basically looks like, hey, what if you made a Doom clone but today? Like, without, like, with the same kind of just run and gun style.
Yeah.
Just like, and I'm all about that. I'm all about Doom, classic Doom, Wolfenstein, like all those just simple 3D shooters.
Yeah.
And so this one didn't look like it's going to break any molds. It didn't look like it's going to be anything like unique.
But it's more of the same when you want more of the same.
Yes, it looks like, hey, I want to play more of that game. Hey, here's more of that game. Yes, please. Like, It just looked right up my alley. Plus, it had a cool, like, half-light, like, it wasn't just a classic, Doom-looking shooter. It also wasn't the new Doom, where it's, like, incredibly realistic.
Right.
It was halfway in between, where I would say you could maybe even say N64 plus kind of visuals, maybe even not that far back, but GameCube, like where it's just got a clear visual style to it, and therefore will never go out of style. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it. There's not much to say about it though.
Outlast Trials was one that
Yeah.
I actually was like, okay, interesting. Here's the whole basis of it is it's Outlast, but you're in a Cold War facility when they're testing on things, whatnot. But this one's co-op multiplayer. And the whole purpose of it is you are helping out each other to survive. And I'm really interested to see how that goes. I'm going to guess there was a big emphasis on have this thing being put and screwed onto your eyes and face. So I'm going to guess there's going to be an emphasis on VR for this. That's going to be the whole. That's my guess. That's just what it made it look like in the trailer. But
was it so like the green like night vision?
It's night vision goggles that they have that they're screwing onto your
that
face.
aesthetic going.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to me, experiencing horror with other people when we can all like turn and be like, oh, that was scary. That really helps me like tone down the fear of it rather than being by myself and just dwelling on it.
If you ask me to play this game, I'm gonna say no. So play with your wife.
But having a group of people there to me could make it a lot more bearable. But also the whole idea of Outlast up to this point has been you are alone and there's nothing you can do about it.
That's an interesting, yeah. Took it to a new place.
Yeah, you're by yourself. You have no power. You're entirely, you can only run. So run. Do that. Seems different. You are with other people and you can help each other out. You can talk, you can communicate, and you can figure things out. So this is a new direction for Outlast, and I'm curious on how that's going to go.
I always appreciate it when a series will do something new.
Yeah.
Among Trees. It's a very beautiful looking, peaceful sandbox survival game. And whenever I play Minecraft, I don't go to peaceful mode. No, I go to peaceful mode. I still like the survival aspect of finding the materials and building my own thing, like, and just kind of that progression as well as like achievement of like I found it and I did it. But I like a peaceful game where I don't have to worry about things destroying my creations or killing me. And so when I hear peaceful survival sandbox, yes, please. Especially because it looked very cool. Like, very, like, watercolory almost, I would say. Very, like, pastel-y. And just, it stuck out to me. I don't know many details about its actual gameplay, but... And
when we say survival, it's, like, not like survival horror or survival... Like, literal, like, hey, you're in the middle of a forest and you need to survive. Chop down trees, build your hut, hunt animals, go fishing, things like that. It looks pretty cool.
Looked very, very nice.
Yeah. Peaceful for sure. Potionomics.
Hey, that was the third one I had, so I've only got 2.
Then I'll do something different. You can talk about Potionomics.
Sure.
Yeah. Twin Mirror. Twin Mirror is you're a detective who's going back to a home for his friend's funeral, and when you get there, obviously there's some sort of thing that you're having to investigate. There's a mystery that you're needing to solve. Here's the thing about Twin Mirror, though. You have kind of what's really common in detective stories is either put them in first person so that the detective can talk to the audience about what he's thinking as he's solving the crime, or give the detective a sidekick like Holmes like Watson or Robin or something like that, where they have somebody to discuss their thought process with. They can talk
to them so that they can talk to the audience.
Right. It's your other personality.
Oh, that's fun.
You have multiple personality disorder, and it's your other personality it's the twin mirror that you are discussing all this with. And so I'm wondering very much how this is going to pan out. A long time ago, I'm talking like 15 years ago, a friend of mine in college was like, yeah, I'd love to be a filmmaker someday. I have this idea for a mystery where there's a detective who is trying to hunt a killer, but he doesn't know that he has multiple personalities and is actually hunting down himself. And I thought that would be really interesting. And here we are. And you are a detective who's got multiple personality disorder. I think it'd be really interesting if that's how it ends up, where you're kind of hunting down yourself. Maybe it was accidentally
spoiled by your friend 15 years ago.
Yeah, dang it.
You ruined this game for me.
So, yeah, that's Twin Mirrors.
Twin Mirrors. Potionomics. Surprise, that's the one I'm talking about now.
Yep.
I played a bunch of Moonlighter, which is a similar-ish shopkeeping game.
Yep.
I've played Recetier. I don't know how to say it exactly, but it's
Raconteur.
The Raconteurs. I've listened to a lot of the Raconteurs. Great band. No, I've played Recetier, which is another like shopkeeping game that is much more like anime, Eastern style, Japanese style. I've played, Stardew Valley, where it's got elements of like collecting and creating.
Right.
Like, I'm a big fan, is what I'm trying to say, of the shopkeeper, but I love it when it's also like, then there's also a element of go and get your supplies. So you then put them in the shop, and there's like this, I don't know. I love the loop of those kinds of games.
Yeah.
And this one stuck out to me. I like the visual style of it. And I mean, it didn't even need to say, hey, here's all the new cool stuff that we're adding to the genre. Again, it's like Proteus, where it's like, yeah, I like that. Please give me more.
For me, card-based selling. You are a potion shopkeeper, and you're trying to sell these potions and whatnot. But whenever you're trying to sell something, you get a hand of cards, and you can play those cards on this person. And, yeah. Depending on who the person is and what their abilities are, different cards will be better or worse or whatever else.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept to add into it.
I kind of love that, man. Yeah. So, and then as Fox was saying, you go out into the world and you do other things. You get new cards by doing these things, by talking to people, learning things, going through challenges, whatever.
Sure.
And yeah, man, that looked real cool to me.
Yep.
It definitely did. All right. EA Play.
EA Play. Let's move on. Let's keep this show rolling.
Yeah.
Not a lot for me to talk about here.
There's a few things here that I have. Number one was there was speculation that at the very end of it, there was just like, and now the future of EA, and it just flashed like a bunch of different images.
Yeah,
one of those
that's true.
There was a speculation of Dragon Age 4.
Well, yeah, they were just like, hey, BioWare, they're working on stuff.
Yeah.
And it looked like it would be a Dragon Age game.
So,
which
fingers crossed.
Dragon Age Inquisition was the best one and a very good game.
Incredible, yeah.
So, man, I should play that again.
I've been thinking about that lately too. Yeah,
okay.
It's so good.
Well, anyway, yeah, so pumped for that.
So, well, I want to talk about It Takes Two first then.
It takes two to make a thing go right.
It takes two to make it out of sight. So Josef Fares I'm gonna guess to say his name.
Sure.
He is the guy who, number one, kind of made a fool of himself on the game show a couple of years ago.
Said F the Oscars.
Yes. But number two, he's also the guys who made Brothers and A Way Out.
Yeah.
And is very, very good at making either co-op or dual person kind
essentially co-op storytelling games. Yeah,
storytelling games. And so this is another co-op storytelling game.
Yeah.
There are two.
There's a good chance we'll play it because that's what we look for.
Absolutely, yes. You are two dolls that a little girl has made. She has found out her parents are getting divorced, and she is very upset, obviously. And so she has made these two little dolls, and you are now playing as these two dolls. What you're doing, we don't know for sure. He said there's going to be some dealing with emotions.
Doll things.
Yeah. There's some dealing with emotions of the girl and whatnot, but whether you're going to solve things or just help her come to terms with things, who knows? Storytelling co-op, that's our jam.
We want more of it, especially like couch co-op. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's talk about Squadrons.
Yes, please.
Let's talk about Star Wars Squadrons. I'm kind of done with Star Wars, so it's probably one I might just not play out of a kind of a protest. But also, it does look pretty cool.
It looks real good. Like, don't give me that garbage.
There's a bygone era of like super in-depth space dogfighting and like space sims, basically. There was a Star Wars game that like I cannot remember what it was called.
Rogue Squadron?
Maybe. I don't remember. I've never played it. I've only seen it in videos and stuff where it's like super in-depth, like if you were to make a real life Star Wars ship, it would have all of these controls, and we put every single one of them in this game, and
you have to use a Steel Battalion controller to play it.
That kind of level of like just this button does this and this like anyway. This looked like a very much lighter version of that, where trying to not just make it like give you more of a sim quality where you are redirecting power levels and things like that. It reminded me of FTL. Which is the roguelike kind of not very different, but where you're just deciding which systems are being used and how you're using them. Looked interesting.
There are so many things that I made me want to play this game. First of all, the story kind of looks like it branches from Return of the Jedi to Force Awakens.
It's in between. It's after Return of the Jedi.
I want to be very clear here. I am a huge Star Wars fan, but I understand that the First Order and the Resistance are just the Rebellion and the Empire over again.
Yeah.
I am curious how we got there. Like, why are we just looping back to what we've done before?
Right.
I want to know in world how that happened. So anything that's going to branch me from one to the other, that's also really fun to play at the same time. Hey, I'm curious. I want to know more about it. I really liked that you don't technically have a HUD. Your heads-up display.
Yeah, that's super cool.
It was really cool. Everything you need to know about your ship is on your ship's controls.
Right.
On your actual literal console. So it seems very immersive in that they don't have things just kind of floating in the corners of your screen. It's all there where
it's on the ship.
It's where it naturally would be.
Console.
Yeah. So
yeah, they said it can entirely be played in VR. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that means you're just like using buttons and just have visually, or if you can press buttons on your console.
That would be
and,
incredible.
Move things and actually be flying the ship. I think that would be amazing. Probably not going to be that way though.
No, probably not.
No.
You can customize your pilot, sure, fine, but also you can customize your ship as you go through the game, make it stronger, better.
Yeah.
But
different kinds of ships you can fly.
More importantly, make it more focused onto your abilities and your
Right.
skill focus. And then they focus on 5-man squads, so there's a lot of multiplayer aspect to this. There is, of course, the single-player storyline that you go through. But then after that, there were several different multiplayer modes that you could continue to do.
Yeah.
That you could play single player or actually multiplayer, and it was really cool looking. I am not a flight sim guy.
Yeah.
The last flight sim I really got into, I think, was Rogue Squadron. I think that's what it was called back in PS2, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe even PS1. But whatever, it was a long time ago. This looks real good.
Okay.
I am very excited for this.
I think it looked cool to play. I was very happy. I think I don't want to jinx us, but I think we're moving past the like loot box era. I think and because what gives me hope is that this is EA, one of the most egregious companies of doing this kind of underhanded thing, and they came up and said, hey, no loot boxes.
Yeah.
No, not a live game. Not like, I'm really happy about that. I'm also curious as to how this, like, the story is. You switch back between a rebel and a empire person, empire soldier.
Imperial.
Sure. And Star Wars has famously, not famously, I guess, but they're never okay with you feeling sympathy for a bad guy most of the time until you get like Kylo Ren or at the end of Vader, like, or just not feeling sympathy for a bad guy, being a bad guy. They've never been okay with that. And I'm wondering the story, I'd be shocked if it didn't turn out the Imperial was like, you know what? We're doing a bad thing and I'm a good guy now. Like, I don't know. They promised you play as an Imperial, and I don't think they are going to have the courage to follow through with you doing terrible things as a member of this genocidal empire.
I'm sure that it's happened at some point, but I can't think of any mainstream time in which they've shown an Imperial character that's like, hey, we're genuinely trying to bring order to the galaxy, and yeah, sometimes we have to use force, and that's a bad thing, but we feel like we can better the entire galaxy. We feel like like that actually has a good heart and thinks that they're doing the right thing.
Any redemption they've had for a villain is always very personal.
Yes.
It's never trying to reconcile the horrible things that they've... Vader was reconciled as like a relationship between father and son, not... He never tried to defend destroying Alderaan, that kind of thing. So I don't know how that's going to work.
I mean, they've looked at the opposite side, that the Rebels had to do horrible things with Rogue One. Like, they looked into that a little bit with Rogue One, but never that the Imperials...
Rebels never did horrible things in that. One guy killed one person.
Oh, they talk a lot about, like, Diego Luna's character talks a lot about...
Right, and
like,
he never
the things
has,
that he's done or whatnot,
that was
but...
lame.
Anyway. So, Rogue One is very good. I'll kill you.
It was a fine movie, yes.
I'll kill you. So... Yeah, Squadrons looks good, and we'll see how that goes.
Sure. Go ahead.
One more game. That's all I have left here.
Oh, yeah, last thing I want to bring up is Skate 4.
Okay, cool. You go first then.
I've never played a skate game. I've played all the Tony Hawks almost and loved them, and I've never played the physics-based, a little more like realistic kind of skateboarding game. Not realistic, but just more focused on the physics of skateboarding.
Right.
So this might be one I play just out of curiosity. It looks like skateboarding games are coming back in a big way because this
Yeah.
is like one. You have the Tony Hawk remaster. You have Skate 4. You have like there's a game called Skate Story.
Yeah.
That one of these millions of videos showed, and then there was like Skate XL was another one that came out. Then there's some mobile games like Ollie Ollie. Like skateboarding's coming back in a big way in the video gaming realm, I think.
And there are also some like other games that are playing off the old Tony Hawk formula. Like
Yeah.
there was like Wave Rider, I think it
Yeah,
was
that's
called.
true. Yeah.
And a couple other games that were like that. Another one with a bird where you're skating around.
Oh, that's
So,
Skatebird.
yeah, Skatebird.
I played the demo for Skatebird. That's
Yeah.
on our channel.
It's coming back, guys. It really is. So for me, my last one is Lost in Random. It is a Burton-esque aesthetic
Oh.
where it's just like an action
Of course,
platformer.
this looked good to you.
It looked phenomenal to me.
This looks so played out to me.
Oh man, it looks so good. So the whole thing is you are in a place called Random, and the whole place is random, and you have a 6-sided die that is your companion. And it looked like an action platformer, pretty standard action platformer, but the aesthetic was just so awesome, so cool that I want to know more about this. It's again very dark, very Burton-esque, and the idea of random. I want to know how that's going to play into the mechanics of the game itself and how that's going to change what's going on in the world. So Lost in Random is another one that I'm really, really interested in, want to know more about.
All right.
Cool. Well, guys, that's it for what we have. We want to say one more time that we talked, there were dozens.
Hundreds, not just dozens, hundreds of games announced.
Were there hundreds?
Oh, easily over all these different shows we watched.
Man,
Hundreds.
It was a ton. So
Yeah.
if you want to know more about them, you got to go check that out for yourself, or you can check out some articles that have like big lists.
IGN has some pretty good hey, here's all the announcements that were made.
Yep.
Short descriptions.
So we'll be back next week with some more stuff that's going to be coming out. But until then, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.